Hi, welcome back to Guessagaingaming. So I thought today I'd do what I've done with Watch Dogs Legion, because you know that's kind of my favourite game anyway. And I'd look at another game, not as in-depth as Watch Dogs Legion, but a game I think has kind of got a more negative press view than it deserves. And that game is Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm going to just do a little bit of a playthrough of my thoughts. I'm not going to play a whole mission or anything like that. I'm only going to make one video on it. I've played this game a lot, and I think there's a lot of good and a lot of bad. I didn't play it on the outset when I know, and I've seen online, there were lots of very bad character modelling, and I think it's got a lot better. Than it looked like it was originally, and now if I played this without knowing the history, I wouldn't look at it and think, oh my god, the characters are awful. They're certainly no better or worse than the ones in games like Fallout and Far Cry and things like that. So it's fine, it's not stunning, but it's fine. And I have played Mass Effect, the whole trilogy in Legendary, and so I know the series. I know why that was. This is not that. It's not. It's different completely, and I get why people are not happy with it. And again, it's a bit like a Watch Dogs Legion thing, where people kind of didn't like the fact it's different. I know there's a thing with Assassin's Creed where it changed over to Origins and Valhalla and the other titles like that, where people weren't happy with the way it went open world, and I can't comment on that as much because I've never played the original Assassin's Creed. I've only played Origins, and that's because I liked ancient Egypt. Anyway, I get why people were disappointed with this, but like I said, like with Watch Dogs Legion, I think that's partly because of expectation and partly not because of the game. There are things about the game I like a lot, and there are things I don't like. I think this is the in-game screen, by the way, of the area. You're in another, I won't go into the whole story of this, but you're in another, obviously the Andromeda galaxy, and you're looking for a home for people from Earth and some other civilizations from the Milky Way. And you're the Pathfinder, you get which means you're the one who's meant to find the places to inhabit or make them inhabitable. And that story in itself is good. I don't think it's outstanding, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it could have been a little bit more, perhaps exciting as it pans out in the game. And I've not finished this game, and I'll explain why while I do this. Yeah, I think it could be a little bit more exciting because the way it's done, the story is exciting, but it's done in a kind of slow burn, so it doesn't have that kind of thing suddenly happening like it kind of does in Mass Effect, the original trilogy. So I get why people are a bit disappointed. The graphics are fine. I'm not just talking about the characters now. The graphics are good. I'd say they're very nice. I've never had problems with bugs really or any crashes when I'm playing on PlayStation 4 Pro, as always. The new ship, the Tempest, which is this, is more flashy than the Normandy, that's for sure. And it's an open world game, so it's not Mass Effect. I think that just like Watch Dogs Legion, which wasn't Watch Dogs Legion 1 or 2, and it had the single playable character, Watch Dogs Legion wasn't that, but that doesn't mean for what it wasn't very good and very unusual. Now this, I'm not going to say, and I'm very biased because you know I like Watch Dogs Legion, it's not Watch Dogs Legion level. It's not like that's a completely fantastic new idea for a game, which I think Watch Dogs Legion is. This is just open world, which isn't a fantastic original idea for a game. It's just a different idea for a Mass Effect game. But it's fine. I mean, you get a nice big map of loads of places to go. And there you go. This is a nice planet, but this other planet is a desert kind of planet, and I've not gone through a lot of this game yet, so I've been playing for a while, but I've still not got through to, I'm sure, quite a lot of the content, so I can't tell you what the end game is, and I've not gone online to find out. But it's good. I would say, in general, from my experience, open world games kind of usually fall into two categories. And one category is they're based in a very busy area. So, for example, Watch Dogs Legion, which is in London. So you've got loads and loads of fantastic detail in London, character details, things to do in London, realistic things in London. Cyberpunk would be another one, where it's set in Night City, and there's loads of things to do there, and it's all very well done. There's loads of interactable situations and characters. Or they're like, let's pick Witcher Wild Hunt, Witcher 3, which I know has some big cities in it as well, but that's not all it is. So there's lots of wild, sprawling areas, like Red Dead, and there's lots of things in Witcher where you can go out somewhere and find something exciting, something different. Dragon Age Inquisition would be another one that comes to mind like that, where there's places you can run around, you can find something exciting and new, you can find an amazing structure, you can find something that's not really connected to the main story, especially in Witcher Wild Hunt. There's loads of little things going on that aren't really relevant to the main story at all. They're just things in the world that can distract you. So those are usually the two kind of open world games. And I think one of the problems with Mass Effect Andromeda is that, having played it a lot, although I've not progressed to, I don't know if I've even got 2/3 of the way through it, is that there's not that much to find once you go looking. And what I mean by that is the main enemies here are a thing called the Ket. They're very annoying. They're aliens. They've got quite a good story, and who they are and what they do is kind of good. But they're everywhere. And okay, they're the enemy in this game. But what I mean is, if you go travelling around the planet, any of the planets, what you'll find is Ket bases, Ket mining, Ket. And although they're fun to fight, and they're fun to kill. Let's just go somewhere. I'll just fast travel to anywhere, doesn't matter. They're the same, and they get a bit repetitive because there's a Ket base, there's a Ket mining things, there's a Ket patrol, and once you've gone to one area and killed some Ket, and you go to another place and kill some Ket, although there are bigger installations that do have story content, it becomes a bit similar, because you're just going to a new place where there's Ket. The vehicle in this game is really cool as well, by the way. So that's another really good thing. The Nomad, and it's really nice to drive. Looks really cool as well. So I think that's one problem. And the only other thing you really find are these ancient things called remnants, which have these ancient kind of mystical sites, which are kind of high-tech mystical. And these android things, different sorts that fly about and attack you. They have a story as well, which is fine. They're relevant to the game, but I'm going to do that in a minute because I want to show you something about that. They're relevant to the game, which is good, but again, if all you ever find on a planet that's really interesting is going to be a new remnant installation, which is just it's almost like a kind of prehistoric stone circle, but it's not stone, it's made of these high-tech metals and things, and these robots there. But if all you ever find is those and Ket bases, it becomes kind of boring after a while, because in games I mentioned like Witcher and Dragon Age, you suddenly find an amazing structure or some amazing new civilization or some amazing character that you've never come across, but in this you don't. And so that's one of the problems I think with this. One of the very good things, and we'll do that now because they're going to keep shooting, is the combat. I would say it's completely superior to Mass Effect. It's a jump thing, there you go, which is really fun. I felt Mass Effect, the original trilogy, the combat was fine, but it wasn't. Yeah, you're there. The combat was fine, but it wasn't flowing. whereas this, I find the combat is really, really fun. I mean, the only thing, and these are the ket, by the way, that I'm shooting, the only reason it's actually okay, it's a balance of killing ket, is because it's so much fun in the combat. I mean, almost the more ket the better, because this thing where you fly around, you can make your own shield. There you go. They're really good. So one of the things that's really good in this is the combat. It's actually really fun. The jump thing makes it fun. The shield, the other things you can do. There's loads of abilities you can level up. So I think that kind of helps with the fact that the things you're finding, which are mostly ket or remnant, are kind of similar and a bit boring. But yeah, it's a balance, but I'd say on the whole, once you've been playing it a bit, and that's why I've not got past a long period of playing this, is because you end up doing this a lot. And this is great, and I'm enjoying it now, and it's great when you do it, but when you've been doing it for, 10 hours or whatever, over a few days or over a few more days, it gets a bit boring. Another thing where I think this game is a bit let down is with character development. So our character, you can make it kind of what you want. There's a male rider and a female rider, which is the character you play. Rider, but I found him to be a bit boring, and I found the female one was more interesting. She's got a more sort of interesting look and a more interesting voice, so I went with her, and she's fine. But the problem is the other subsidiary characters, especially your squad mates, they're all right, but they're not fantastic. And if you know Mass Effect, which I'm sure if anyone played this game or thinks about playing this game, they probably will, when you've got Tally and, yes, Ashley, because I thought Ashley was interesting, and Garrus and Liara and Fane and Miranda and all the others, who are really, really deep, interesting characters, with their own kind of things going on and their own interactions with each other and with you. These characters are, any of the characters from Mass Effect, the original trilogy, would be a fantastic addition to this, and they would outshine all the other subsidiary characters. So it's not that the Ryder character itself is not that interesting. I mean, the Ryder character isn't Shepard, and Shepard himself is kind of interesting compared to the Ryder character. Although there's not a backstory on Ryder, I'll give them that. But it's the fact that the other characters don't really help. So having a okay main character is fine, but having the other characters that aren't outstanding as well doesn't really help. So I think that's another thing. This planet's cold, so we don't want to be hanging around in the cold. We'll get back in our nice warm ship. So there's some combat. That was the ket. So yeah, that doesn't really help. And there are other characters, obviously. These are the remnant things, so I'll show you those, because these are the other things you find. As you can see, that's kind of what you find. This is kind of how it is. So there's the remnant things. I don't get killed, so that would be annoying. They're little robot things. And they're fun. And they're, like I said, their structures look a bit like this. Is the massive ones, and they're part of the game story, but these are everywhere, these little structures, and there are some things that look a bit like metal, kind of stone circles almost, or they were going to be. And these are the remnant. But again, as you've seen with the ket, it's fun too. There's usually some container with some remnant bits and pieces, which is good. You can make your own things later and do research and all that, which is all very good. But again, these become kind of boring, like the ket. We've just gone to kill some ket, just some random ket who were just doing whatever they do, and now there's some random remnant doing some random stuff, and that's kind of what you'll get everywhere you go in this. And that can be a sort of problem as well. So yeah, that's another issue. There's similar things to do in all the places, The main character is not stunningly interesting, but that would be fine if the subsidiary characters were slightly more interesting. And as with Watch Dogs Legion, which is one of the criticisms, just because you play as many people doesn't mean they're not interesting, because those people that you play randomly, they all have their own little characters and you can make them what you want. And bland or not very interesting characters that are already pre-made, like these, don't make it better. So Watch Dogs Legion isn't bad just because it hasn't got pre-made characters for you or for other people, because that doesn't mean that they're better just because they're pre-made, if that makes sense. Another thing I found is a problem with this game, which is probably the main reason I keep stopping playing it, is there's not a huge amount of things to do. There are things to do, but if you look at these, a lot of them are on hold, so that one's not, but these are all on hold, on hold, on hold, on hold, because you're looking for something to happen or something to do, on hold. So there's a lot of missions where you can't proceed. Now, of course, if you continue the game, you can proceed, but that means you've not got options when you don't want to follow the main quest all the time. You haven't got these side missions that are really interesting because they're the main other character missions where you can't really follow those. You've got no real way of knowing when they're going to come up. That one requires more worlds to evaluate, but I don't know, at what point we'll find more worlds. And that one's waiting for someone to set up a meeting, but we don't know when he'll do that. That one's waiting for so they're all waiting for things that you can't really know or do anything about. And with the priority mission, we've only got one at the moment, which is like the main story mission, but there are sometimes more than one, but at the moment there's one, and that happens quite often. We just have to return to this person and follow their lead, kind of. And then there's a few of these kind of fetch quests, I call them. I mean, they're not. That one's placed a seismic hammer, which is, it's a good bit of drama there, but it's not anything other than doing something. There's, that's on hold anyway. Investigate something. So there's not a huge amount of find a sniper, destroy Ket, of course, find something, search for supplies, but that's another problem. There's not any wildly interesting side missions, and if there are, they're on hold. So you have a limited amount of things where you can kind of invest yourself in. So one of the reasons, this is where I kind of was when I finished playing last week, and I've done probably about another 30 hours of it overall, different days, is I just got to the point where there was only one thing to follow and I wanted to do something else, but there wasn't really anything else to do other than fetch quests and little side things. And you want that kind of thing like Witcher or Dragon Age has, or Cyberpunk, where there's a whole million different missions with different characters that you can go to at any point, a new area you can just go to and do something exciting. But this doesn't have that, so it's a bit limited there as well. And overall, the limiting factors are probably worse than the positives. The positives are that the gunplay and the movement and all of those are very good. I'd say the gunplay is really fun. It's great. It sustains the not very interesting variety of enemies a lot. The graphics are fine now. I don't have any problem with how the characters look. The story's okay for what it is. Even with the story there is, it's a shame they didn't have more branch out stories of side missions that are doable all the time, so you could keep doing new things, but there's not. And so the minuses, which like I've said, are the fact that the open world is open, but you don't find exciting new things all the time. You just find Ket and Remnant, other than the big story missions. The characters, which aren't wildly interesting, I mean, they're not bad, but again, if you've played Mass Effect, you won't think these are better. Let's just say that. And they're not like Witcher or Cyberpunk or any of those games where some of the characters are really fantastic. So the characters are okay, And again, in a game where there was fantastic content and loads of interesting things to do, the characters wouldn't matter, but all the little things that aren't quite there go against it, because what you end up with is, well, the combat's great, but the enemies are the same and a bit boring, so that's not good. The open world looks fine, you can drive this great vehicle, but all you find is Ket and Remnant, and that's about it, which is a bit boring over time. The characters are fine if you could do a bit more with them, if their missions weren't all on hold all the time, if you could do some other side missions that were a bit more interesting than fetch quests, but you can't, so that gets a bit boring. So all those things combine to make it become boring after any amount of time. And I found, and I like this game, I'm not knocking it. I completely get why people don't like it following Mass Effect, but I think it's not because it's not Mass Effect, because nothing's Mass Effect. I think it's because it's just not wildly interesting, and it's just not got a real soul, and that's what's missing. I think if this game had been a kind of Watch Dogs Legion world where there's tons to do, or a Cyberpunk world, or Witcher world where there's loads of interesting characters, it could have been fantastic. I don't think the fact it's not Mass Effect per se, and it's open world and it's not got Shepard is the problem. I think it's just that it's just not got anything else that really hits home as like, wow, this is great. And like, I'm playing this now and I like it, but it's not got the detail and the humour actually of Watch Dogs Legion and the interest of that. It's not got the interesting characters and the thousands of quests of Cyberpunk. It's not got the exploration and the characters and the different things going on of Witcher or Dragon Age. So it's just lacking in too many things for anyone to want to play this against any of the many other games, and there's others as well. I've just mentioned a few. Fallout would be another one. So it's just not got that extra amount of something where there's something you want to play. So, like I said, I just thought I'd make a little video with my thoughts about it. Like I said, I think it's a game that gets criticised for the wrong reasons. I think there are things that are wrong with it, there are things that are very good with it. If they just put something extra into it, like they did with Mass Effect, where you've got so many great characters and Shepard is so like interesting, and made it here in an open world, it could have still been really good, even without Shepard and even without all those lovely characters. But it's just missing content, different content. It's missing interesting exploration, and it's missing truly interesting and in-depth characters that you can really do anything with. So that's my thoughts on Mass Effect Andromeda. Like I said, it was just a video to talk about a few things, because it's a game I've played quite a lot, and I thought I'd just give a little mini review. Anyway, thanks for watching, take care.